Morning, everyone. We will go ahead and get things started. We would like to welcome Rory McIlroy to the interview room here. And Rory, you're making your 11th start here. What's it like to be back here, a place where you've found success with top tens?
I think like Muirfield and I have had a bit of a complicated relationship. It seemed to fit me quite well earlier in my career, and then the last few years I've sort of maybe struggled with a strategy of how to play it. I feel like a lot of the fairways here pinch in around 310, so it allows the sort of average hitters to hit driver. And then, you know, for an example, last year I played with Victor Hovland the first 2 days, and the first hole he can hit driver sort of right to where the bottleneck starts. I can't hit driver because I'll hit it too far, but then I hit 3-wood, 15 or 20 yards short of his driver. So I'm hitting 6-iron or 7-iron in, and he's hitting an 8 or 9-iron in. So it just seems like the length advantage has sort of been nullified here over the last few years. So it's just finding a different way to play the golf course. A lot more 3-woods. I've actually went to one of my old 3-woods this week that's a lower lofted. It's sort of like a 2-wood in a way, which I think will be good to utilize this week. But it's great to be back at Memorial. I think it's one of the guys' favorite events on tour. I think everyone looks forward to it, and great to be here. These big player hosted invitationals are they're a pretty big deal. I've been lucky enough to win at Arnold's Place at Bay Hill, and I'd obviously love to win at Jack's Place too.
Week off since PGA Championship, entering the week with 3 consecutive top tens. How's your game feeling?
It feels good. Feel like everything's going in the right direction. Feel like Southern Hills was a missed opportunity there, but I have to take the positives from it, and I did some really good stuff that week. So it's just a matter of trying to build on that. I'm embarking on a 4-week stretch here, so I'm going to be playing a lot of golf coming up, and feel like my game's in good shape. So I'm excited for this run. Excited to give myself a few more chances to hopefully win golf tournaments.
With that, we'll open up for questions. If you have a question, go and raise your hand. We'll get a microphone over to you. We'll open up with Cameron Morfitt.
Hey, Rory. Just a little bit of a general question. It's very hard to predict golf tournaments, and we've seen some crazy finishes recently where guys have come from way back. What has been the craziest last hour of a tournament that you've experienced, whether you've come out on top or whether you've sort of not come out on top, just sort of the most topsy-turvy last hour of a tournament that you've personally experienced?
Honestly, I think some of the most topsy-turvy are like Medina in 2012, Ryder Cup. My Walker Cup in 2007. It looked like we would win, and the Americans would win, we would win. So the two that sort of stick out in my mind aren't individual events; they were more team events. But yeah, I mean, watching the last few holes at Southern Hills, that was wild with what was happening there, and then even at Colonial last week, and Sam posted, and then guys trying to hang on. So. But I think that's more, what happened the last 2 weeks is more, if you have the right golf course setup, where it challenges guys to really hang on, and things like that happen. Pressure does funny things to people, and I think it's just you see how everyone raved about Southern Hills, and a lot of people love Colonial, and I think golf courses like that, they can have very entertaining finishes because of the golf course.
And we'll go over to Mark in the middle, and then over to Shed.
Rory, with the LIV field being announced last night, were you surprised, disappointed, indifferent at some of the names? And in your opinion, does the tour have to drop the hammer in terms of discipline to prevent guys from going in the future?
I'd say indifferent is probably the way I would describe it. A couple of surprises in there, I think. I certainly don't think they should drop the hammer. Look, they're well within their rights to enforce the rules and regulations that have been set, but there's going to be it's going to end up being an argument about what those rules and regulations are. So, like, I have some very close friends that are playing in this event in London, and I certainly wouldn't want to stand in their way for them to do what they feel is right for themselves. So, I certainly, it's not something that I would do personally, but I certainly understand why some of the guys have went, and it's something that we're all going to just keep an eye on and see what happens over these next few weeks. But I mean, I certainly don't think the field is anything to jump up and down about. It's not, look at the field this week, look at the field next week in Canada. They're proper golf tournaments.
And now over to Shed.
Rory, when you turned professional, did you think about playing for money, or were you playing for history? Tiger always said he was playing for history.
When I turned pro, I was playing for money. I wanted to keep my card. I remember I played the Spanish Open in 2007 as an amateur, and the year before, one of my really good friends in amateur golf, Oliver Fisher, had turned pro and got his European Tour card. And we went out for dinner one night in Madrid. And before going out to dinner, I looked at the European Tour Order Merit and saw he'd made 200 grand that year. And I was like, oh my God, 200 grand, that's unbelievable. Guy is loaded. So I think at the start, of course, I mean, we turned professional to earn a living playing golf. Like when I turned pro, I didn't, I was nowhere near getting in majors. I was nowhere near playing at the top level of professional golf. I hope to be there one day. But like, all I wanted to do was get my tour card, make a living playing golf. Like the first thing I did when I got my tour card was buy myself a house. You need a job and you need to make money to buy yourself a house. So there's a lot of different parts to this. Do I play golf for money now? No. My situation has changed over the years, but when I started playing the game professionally, yeah, money was at the top of the list.
We'll go up here to the front right, then over to Doug.
Rory, after your great start the last day of the PGA, how low did you think you had to get on Sunday, and would it, if you'd had the luxury of knowing that 500 was going to be in a playoff, how would that have maybe changed the way you played the last 8 or 9 holes?
Yeah, I thought I needed to shoot. I shot 31 on the backside on Thursday morning. After 9 holes, I thought I needed to shoot another 31 to win, which would have got me to 7 under for the tournament, and I would have ended up winning by 2. I don't think it would have changed anything. I mean, I made, the tricky pin positions on 10 and 11, 2 good pars. I had a good chance for birdie on 12, good chance on 13, good chance on 15. If I had it on 5 under, especially after the start, I don't know if I would have done anything differently, but I maybe mightn't have put as much pressure on myself to try to, make birdies and make putts. But I mean, at that point, I didn't know. I thought 7 or 8 under was going to be the number, and that's what I was going for.
We'll go over here to the left, Doug.
A couple things. I was curious about the money you were chasing as an 18-year-old. When you bought that house, how much was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was about £600,000, and I remember that. They were giving mortgages out. This was right before the crash, so I put 5% down and interest only repayment. I got it for free basically. Like everyone else back at that time. But yeah, it was like £600,000. So I don't know what that would equate to in dollars back then. Maybe $750,000.
Do you still have it, the house?
My mum and dad actually live in it.
Okay.
It's the house that they live in whenever when they're back home.
On the Saudi thing, I don't know to what degree you've talked to some of the people you're close with, but do you get any sense that they still want to play the PGA Tour?
Not really, I guess. You know, you have some guys in a position where, like, they're literally not guaranteed a job next year. You know, it's hard to stay in the top 125 out here, especially when you're a guy that's in your 40s and, you know, maybe you don't hit the ball as far as you used to. And, you know, it's as we've seen, it's a young man's game nowadays. So someone that isn't guaranteed their tour card next year, another entity comes along and says, we'll guarantee you this amount for 3 years, plus you're playing for a ton more prize money and you're playing less events. You can spend more time with your family. I mean, whenever you sit down and look at some of those things, you know, it's very appealing to some of those guys that are in that position. So, again, I'm not in that position, and it's not something that I would do, but, you know, you at least have to try to put yourself in other people's shoes and see where they're coming from.
We'll go over to the right with Steve. And we'll
Rory,
pass
over the years, you've seen the subtle changes and the major changes at 16. What is your approach right now to taking on that challenge at the 16th hole?
I think with the way this golf course has been tweaked over the years, it's, you know, 16 is just to hit it in the middle of the green, 2 putts, take your 3 and run to the 17th tee. It's, I guess you want to really take a club that if you do pull it a touch, you cover that water on the left. But really, it's, yeah, you play to the sort of front third of that green, and you know, you avoid the water, and the middles of the greens here, especially with how small some of the targets are, like 16, is always going to be good.
And do you remember the first milkshake you had here? How good are they? And what is your approach to that bar that makes the milkshakes these days?
I guess I don't want to get in trouble here, but like the milkshakes are good. I've had milkshakes that are just as good elsewhere, maybe because it's Muirfield Village, they taste better, I don't know. I mean, probably the first year I played here in 2009, and like I didn't know, like I wouldn't be a big milkshake guy. I just said to the dude making them, like, what do people order? And he goes, oh, the Buckeyes, and I'm like, Buckeye, what's that? Hadn't heard of a Buckeye, didn't know that was the nickname for the university. And he goes, oh, it's chocolate and peanut butter. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that. And it was good. I mean, you know, I'm happy with having 1 or 2 a week. I'm certainly not one of the guys that's standing there getting 2 a day.
We'll go with Rob.
Rory, Ben Crenshaw, honoree, one of the great putters. Jack was in here talking about guys who he thought were some of the best. Among modern players, who are some of the best putters that you've seen?
Jordan Spieth is up there, I think, especially from that sort of middle distance. Every putt he hits is just like the perfect speed. I think that's one of the things I always notice when I play with Jordan. I'd say one of the guys with the best putting strokes out here right now, and this is maybe recency bias, but Sam Burns. I think Sam rolls it really, really well. Putting's one of those things where, you know, anyone can get hot for a few weeks or a few months, but I think we all know who are the consistently good putters out here. You've, you know, someone like Denny McCarthy, who, you know, is up in the, you know, he's up there in the stats every single year. But sort of from that upper echelon of guys, I'd put Jordan ahead of most people.
Along those lines, if you studied it, what makes a great putter? Why are some guys, you know, really good at it and some guys average?
Trust. I think trusting your read, trusting your stroke, trusting your instincts. I think one of I think the reason people miss putts more than anything else is indecisiveness, not committing to a read, not committing to a speed. I think being very trusting in what you're doing, and that trust just comes from seeing the ball go in the hole more often than it doesn't. So it comes from practice. It comes from seeing that practice pay off in play, and I think that's the biggest thing. And acceptance. I think that's the other thing. Accepting that you are going to miss putts, and that missed putt doesn't carry over into you reacting in some way to hitting your next putt, if that makes sense. So, I'm on the first hole and I miss a right to left or low, and I get on the second hole and I have a right to left or again, and I don't react to that first putt by reading more into it just because I missed the previous one low. I think you have to try to keep every putt its own putt and not try to react to the other putts that you've hit that day. I think that's pretty important as well.
Given that knowledge, is putting easier or harder for you than a decade ago, say?
Easier. I definitely think I've improved as a putter over the years. So I would say it's not easy, but I've definitely simplified it.
One quick follow to that, Rory. What do you consider the most important putt you've ever made in your career?
I held a putt on the 17th hole at Valhalla on the Sunday to take a 2-shot lead into 18. So that was big to have that cushion to win there. It's hard because I think some of the most important putts could be like I 2-putted from 60 feet on the 9th hole on Friday night at Quail Hollow to make the cut before going and shooting 66, 62 to win my first PGA Tour event. That was a massive 2-putt. I had just as much chance of 3-putting that as I had 2-putting it, and I 2-putted it and ended up going and winning my first PGA Tour event. So that's those are moments that I guess no one will really remember apart from me, and I think they're some of the most important ones. It'd be better for your story, so yeah, I'd go for that one.
And Cameron, go ahead.
Rory, we had a Ben Crenshaw mention. I was just wondering what your memories are of the '99 Ryder Cup and what your experiences have been playing the country club.
Yeah, I did an event last night, and Ben was there, and we were talking about the Ryder Cup in '99. I remember that press conference on Saturday where he's like, I've got a good feeling about this. I hated Justin Leonard for the longest time. Didn't know him, never met him, but and I met him eventually. I played on tour, just as he was finishing his career, and he's the nicest guy. But that was a hard one. I was watching that on a Sunday night at home, and it was hard to watch as a European, to see that comeback. So, and then I've only played Brookline once. I played it a couple of years ago, and it was completely different. It was different time of the year. It was in the fall. It was different. So I haven't really seen the place the way it's going to be set up for a couple of weeks' time.
Will you just play it like the week of, or you won't make an
I think
advanced
so.
trip?
I was maybe toying with the idea of going the day after this tournament finishes, like next Monday, to check it out. But I don't know. I'm still up in the air with that. You get there and you have 3 good days out of it. I think that should be enough.
All right, unless we have any others, we will wrap things up. Rory, thanks for joining us. Best of luck this week.
Thank you.
Rory, how long was your putt on 13 on Saturday at the Diamond before Polk was
About 30 feet. I got the ball rolling as well. But Poulter never mentions that.
We'll go ahead and go out these doors.